What's up, guys? Just wanted to talk to you today, just kind of continue the last video and just talk to you a little bit about a couple of the radio services. And today we're going to focus on GMRS. So I mentioned it lightly and how it shared a lot of the channels from FRS, Family Radio Service, which is unlicensed. The GMRS frequency set with the FCC is a license. It's $35 at the moment. It used to be $70. When I got mine, it was $70. It's good for 10 years. It's good for your entire household. And what I want to do is just lightly touch. I'll go into much more detail another time, but I want to touch on some of the value points that are usually overlooked, when it comes to deciding what radio to get into. Like, what do I need for those type outages? And I'm going to talk about some of them that I have. I don't have them all right here at my disposal, but I'll definitely, just touch on it. It's going to be a short video. So GMRS, like I said, shares channels with FRS, literally meaning that the same frequency for channel 1 on a bubble pack radio at Walmart or at Academy or wherever, Amazon that you buy, it shares the exact same frequency. The only difference is the power. So when you buy those little bubble pack radios, and when I say bubble pack radio, I'm talking I had one here. They normally look something like this, right? Some little cheap handheld radio. Do they work? Yeah, sure. But are they powerful? No. They are limited at 2.5 watts on most channels, some half watt on other channels. It just depends on which channel that is. And you could look it up on the FCC website and determine which ones those are. Are those good for, long range use? Long range meaning, 20 miles away? No, they are not. They usually are only good for, local area only. You're going on a quick hike and you're all going to be fairly close together, that type stuff. They're really not even that good for vehicle to vehicle use on the road. If you're in like a multiple vehicle scenario where you guys are following each other and you just want to chat and have fun along the way, they don't do very well at all because they don't have a lot of power. So GMRS is where that steps in, and now you go from that half a watt on that low side to 5 watts in GMRS, and then up to a mobile radio, which means one mounted in your vehicle, or a base station like I have right there with that orange screen on it, and in my Jeep as well. You can have up to 50 watts, and 50 watts will go quite a long way. I actually can talk a really, really long way. I can hear, I don't know, it's probably 50 some odd miles away. I'm listening in and I can hear folks talking from a good ways away. I have talked well over 25, 30 miles with my base station radio and a mediocre antenna. So 50 watts is pretty powerful, just depending on where you live. Now, obviously, that's kind of a line of sight thing. So if you're on one side of a mountain and someone's on the other side of a mountain, that's going to be kind of hard to talk. You need something in between, and we'll talk about that in another video. That would be repeaters. But the idea is that you have, good quality radios. If you're going to go GMRS, you want to stay with the Part 95, approved with the FCC. You don't always have to. I'll talk about that in a second. But Part 95 just meaning that it meets a certain requirement and regulation for the FCC. And normally when you got a company like Midland, if you can see that, this is a kind of an expensive radio for GMRS, but it meets my needs. It's 100% waterproof. Any of you who watched my kayak videos, probably the last few that I've posted, you've seen it mounted right here on my chest as I was fishing, and that's how we communicate. And I can talk a long way with this guy right here versus, like some of the other like dual band radios that can talk on GMRS if you unlock them. Much different, right? And each radio has its own capability. And I have a plethora of them. I give them away as gifts to folks, talking about preparation for anything, just power outages in general, right? So that's the idea. But this guy in my hand can talk quite a long way. And I've got another version of the GMRS, cheaper version of the Midland GMRS radios. I keep a handheld in my Jeep, and then I have a mobile radio in my Jeep. So if any time I need to hand that off to someone, I could in any situation. Or if I want to get out of my Jeep and walk away, that other radio can actually talk quite a ways away. When you get into the I would say non-Part 95 rated, that's when you get into radios like this and your Baofeng UV5Rs. I've probably got one somewhere. Yep, I got a few up there on the shelf. So I got a box over here that's probably got 2 or 3 in it. They can be unlocked to talk on GMRS. It's not Part 95 approved, I would say. But can you do it in an emergency, or can you do it just to play around with it? Absolutely. So just because it doesn't say it's a GMRS radio, the main thing is it capable of transmitting and receiving in the GMRS range, which is between 462 megahertz and the upper end of 467 megahertz. A lot of these radios you buy, it'll tell you that the UHF portion of it will go from, I think it's like 440 up to, you'll see sometimes 520 or 580. You'll see numbers like that, which means it encapsulates that 460 range. Now, the firmware on the radio might have it locked out, and then there's things you can do holding certain buttons, and it'll actually unlock it for you. I do have some Part 95 rated radios that aren't like a Midland, and they're not super expensive. This one that I was showing you a second ago, it's like a $200 radio, but like I said, waterproof. I can dunk this thing in the salt water. It's not going to kill it. There's actually, other than me dropping it, moving around, because I use it kind of as everything, it looks brand new, and it's been out on the salt water with me quite a few times. It's been wet quite a few times. But then you get to things like the TID radio. Well, one more thing to mention. This, the menu on it, it's really easy to set your channels and go in and change your settings. The menu is really nice. This one specific is not, I don't even know if you can see that on there, but it's not like your traditional Midland radios. I don't know if there's a glare there, but it's very easy. Not all Midland radios are like that. The one that I carry in my Jeep, it's a cheaper version. The menu it's old Midland, if you've ever touched a Midland radio ever in your life, and some of the bubble pack radios. This one, however, is a little different. This is like I think it's a tri-band is what they consider it. It can listen to airband, airplanes flying overhead. It's VHF, which includes like your marine channel. I think I talked about marine channels, MURS, VHF also, and then it goes into the UHF bands, and it covers all of the ham radio bands, UHF bands, up through GMRS. Now, you can get this in GMRS only. That is the Part 95. This was a GMRS only. I actually unlocked it from GMRS and made it turn into like a ham radio. So it kind of does all of the things, and you'll should hear a chirp back. Sorry. But it, I got it set up for what I need it for. Well, had a slight malfunction, so let me gather my thoughts and get myself back together. So, my main points, right, up to this point. For me, I use GMRS in like everyday life. And you say, how do you do that? How do you implement that into your everyday life? Well, I talked about I have a mobile radio in my Jeep. I have a handheld in my Jeep if I were to ever need to hand one off. I actually, in my backpack, I carry one into downtown. And just the other day, sitting at the bus stop, and I drive to a park and ride, and I ride the bus into work, and sitting at the bus stop, had, waiting 30, 40 minutes, and pulled my radio out and keyed up on the local repeater and had a conversation with a nice fella that I talk to periodically. And, I got a buddy that when I am commuting, he's coming home most of the time about the same time as I am. And we talk on the way home. It's kind of a social thing. And I am more likely to pick up the radio these days because I'm so just used to doing it. Sorry. That, yeah, it's just my second nature. So that's kind of how it's plugged in. I host a repeater here at my house. I've got the base radios, which are right here. It's just part of what I do now. And I wouldn't say that I'm like absolutely obsessed by radio kind of thing to where like that's all I do. Like, no, I'm going to go fishing and I'm going to do the things that I love to do outside of that. It's just a tool, and I dove into it really deeply just to learn how everything works so that I can learn how to implement it in my everyday life as well as in an emergency situation. So what are the biggest values of GMRS to me? First off, I had a malfunction when I keyed that radio up. It disconnected the audio. So this is hours and hours and hours later from where you saw me a minute ago. And was editing the video and realized that my audio just cut out and I had like another 10 minutes of talking. But yeah, so what are the two biggest values of GMRS? If I were to just put a pin on it and say, this is the biggest part. Well, option one, not the two biggest, let's just say like the top five. The biggest being just radio communication in general is always a good tool to have. There's always a reason to have some level of backup communication, no matter what. On a sunny Wednesday morning here a few years ago, AT&T just decided to just drop out. Everything shut down and and it was down for a while, and no way to communicate. So what did I do? Didn't quite know what was going on. We could, get on the internet, but when it went down, I was not near the internet. My phone service cut out. I was driving when it happened and I was away from home. So I picked up my radio and I called into a repeater and immediately got information that some update or something, whatever possibly went wrong, so that happened. So you say, can it happen? Do cell phones go down? Sure, all the time. Does power just cut out for no reason? I mean, there's planned power outages all over the United States, if not all over the world, that has power grid issues during peak times of the year, right? That happens. So radio communication, just in general, biggest value, right? Having some version of it. Along with that, why GMRS for that? It's easy. It's a $35 $35 license with no test. So it's really easy to obtain, and then it gives you the ability to go buy these radios, guilt-free. You don't have to worry about anybody looking over your shoulder. And I know there's some that's going to watch this and they're going to comment like, I don't care, I'm prepping, I'm, emergency situation, you don't need that. I totally agree. I don't disagree with you at all, but I use mine every day and I talk to people every day. I don't have to hide behind the fact that I don't have a license. So if you don't use it, you don't know how to use it, right? If you can't just key up and start talking to people, you have no idea how to use that thing in emergency. However, I have the handhelds, I have the Jeep radio, and I'll talk about it later. I have field deployable rigs that run on batteries that's far more powerful than a handheld radio, that I can throw up an antenna and talk long range. And if you're not able to do that with a license or just practice it, you're just not going to be able to think that through when the time comes. It's no different than going to the range shooting your gun. So, but GMRS, fairly easy to have, and it is useful to others who do not have a license to be able to communicate with them as well. So the bubble pack radios I talked about, anybody with a bubble pack radio, you're able to have a conversation with them. You can hear them calling out for help if that's the case, or just in your everyday camping or whatever. I hear HEB up the road, the grocery store, they're using GMRS radios with what they call privacy tones, but they're not, because I hear them, so they're not private at all. The whole world can hear them completely. So that's the second thing is you're able to talk to other family members or other friends with those off-the-shelf radios, no license required kind of thing, and it's implementable, I would say. Horrible word to try to say right now with a dry mouth and after a long day of work. But You can implement it in anything. We use it in fishing. We use it when we go camping. We use it on road trips when we drive. I mean, just anything that you do outdoors. Like me, I use it every day, but for people who don't, it's still kind of part of, what we do. And then, at the end of the day, it is readily available, right? You can hit Amazon right now. I think I've hit 5. This is fifth point. Maybe this is the 4th. I don't know. I've lost count. But regardless, you get the point. You can hit Amazon right now and just say GMRS radio, and there's a price range from like uber cheap to like ultra expensive. And I will say you do get what you pay for with those. And there is very little learning curve in it. It's just a radio. A lot of them, like this Midland, like there's no antenna to change. This thing's got some digital, AI stuff built into it, noise canceling. It's got stuff built in, and they don't want you to change the antenna. And someone says that's a FRS radio. Well, I tell you what, you find an FRS radio that does anything near what this thing will do, and I'll kiss you. So, yeah, this is not an FRS radio just because the antenna doesn't come off. It is not by definition an FRS radio. This is a powerful machine. I'm not sponsored by Midland or anything. I just really like their products. I'm super impressed by the quality, by the thing. So they're readily available. The technology out there for FM radios, UHF FM radios are just it's off the chain right now, and technology has just advanced so far. The audio quality is insane. So yeah, so there's my points. GMRS, I'm very passionate about it. It's very usable. My family can use it. We can share a license, right? Me and my wife can talk to one another. With the call sign, with my one call sign, we can talk to each other. So there's my points. GMRS radio. Next video, we'll talk about another one. Thanks for joining me and listening to me rant, and hope to see you again.